Namaste and good morning, everyone. I'm here in Seattle, Washington, which I'm very fortunate to be at the moment. It's a beautiful season, my favorite season here with the cherry blossoms, tulips, lilacs, magnolias, evergreens, and it's been nice and warm here, just lovely. The temperature here is probably about 71, 72, and warm, even at the sun is different than Florida. It just, you get that nice warmth in even at the lower temps, which lower is what I'm saying. I mean, being hanging out in Florida for the time I have. This, if it's 72 there, it feels chilly, but here it's wonderful. So it's nice here. It's heating up in Florida, getting perfect here. So I've got a little break for a while. So anyway, someone had asked me to look at the map of the U.S. and just, a little bit deeper the states and do some comparisons or just see where things are at. Most of the time with the pendulum reading, it does read spirit and where things are at in terms of spirit, not just, in the energy. It doesn't mean just an area, but a person, plants, anything really. And it tends to go towards that, not just the superficialities. It will start with that, and that's part of it, but as a way to go deeper to what is the heart of that energy. What is where's the center? Is there a center? Sometimes there's not. So I'm gonna look at this map, and maybe we'll do some with the pendulum, some without, and we're gonna see how that goes. So as we look at the map, we can look at some comparisons, and you can see Washington, Oregon, California. Those to me just feel like, in terms of energy, have a ribbon, like a ribbon that connects those three. They have some similarities in many ways. Similarities in terms of even mindset. Certainly Washington and Oregon, they are very linked with nature, is very similar in those areas. Weather and really the feeling is a concern for the earth. And again, this is not everybody. This is just the general feeling of it. Again, in my mind, I see mountains, I see water. A lot of the Native American culture traveled through there in the moor when it was very glorious, very rich, very full. And that was where they planted their feet. Again, the feeling, I get the imagery in my head, but it really comes through an energetic feeling as well. And this is without the pendulum. And my sense is that I don't always, that is a tool, but it's there in feeling, it's there in heart. And that is sometimes used as a tool, as a visual, as to get another kind of feel, which we can do in a bit. So that's the Washington, Oregon feeling. Heart. There's a heart. The heart is, there's some red in it. There's, and usually when I see the red, a lot of times it has to do, well, it can do with many things, but sometimes it has to do with suffering, that blood. And there is some white too, and some purity there in terms of the earth and the beauty there. Really, what flowers from there? Really. But we look at what flowers we want to look at what flowers in terms of spirit. I mean, not just what flowers in terms of nature, but nature is certainly representative of that. Okay, so there is certainly in every area, in a lot of these areas, there's a lot of technical things, a lot of busyness. That's not lacking probably in most areas. And then California being, again, liberal areas, we look at that. Okay, so that feels, when I see the heart, I see about probably a third of it is reddened, suffering, conflict, issues. And the other, there's a purity, and again, a goodness, meaning, a goodness in terms of people wanting good things for the earth, good things for each other, good things, nourishment to hand back and to try to keep a balance, even in terms of, how they take care of the earth. And these may sound silly things, but like recycling. A lot of them have the compost in their homes now where you save the... these things matter. I know they may be trivial to people. They really do. Compost in terms of the waste of your vegetable matter and things that decay, they do that now, and they also are careful about usage, more so with natural products, really down to the smallest thing it matters. And then also they would like equality, these kinds of things. And again, when I say they, I do not mean all. I just mean, again, it's a reading of the overall. Okay, so now we're going to take the pendulum and let's take a look at what after that, what it does with those areas. Okay, so here comes my trusty pendulum that you can see all the colors through. Rising. So we were talking about these three areas. I don't know if it will stay there or what it's going to do. Yeah, so it is sort of showing that these lines are not, they're borders, but these have a similar, kind of like a river feeling, some fluidity through there in terms of similarities. Certainly parts of California are going to be warmer, if we're looking at weather. We look at, again, the surface things, but the surface things are all part of spirit, and the color of it, the feeling, weather is a huge part of the energy of a place. And, what's the weather of a mind? What's the weather, more an outer and inner? So, okay, so of course, yeah, so just this fluid kind river, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to add there. No, it does hug it nicely. It's got a nice overall feeling to it, and this is, we're just looking at the generality. Okay, so we want to move forward. We've got such a big slate here, and I don't know if we'll go through all of them now. Let's look at more of this other area here. And no, there was a mentioning of Florida. What's that about, Florida? Just getting a feel of that connection there, Florida. Okay, Florida. Okay, water surrounds ocean life, lots of that. Lots of people go there to find like resort type, find a way as a break from their world, busy, or wanting some warmth. Some sun is there, of course, and again, what we're seeing is a lot of retirees, I mean, that is a part of it. And then the ones that migrate, like I see birds flying. Okay, there's going to be the snowbirds that come from the other areas and want to stay there and go back and forth, people that have money. And then in other areas, there is more towards Miami. We have a lot of immigrants and things there that they've come from the grid and struggle, worry, turmoil there. And there is quite a bit of crime activity there. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at, in terms of nature, there is a lot of lush areas with a lot of, I don't mean to be like a history book here. This is more to get a feel. I know it sounds that way in the beginning. It does go deeper, okay? That's part of how this works in terms of making these connections. Okay, let's see what's on the surface. Then let's dive deeper and see what's at the heart. Okay, so okay, life channel there. Okay, the life channel. What is that like? Which means more the flow of the energy force. It is zigzag. It doesn't. There's such a mixture there. There's something that is something under the surface. It seems a little some energy that is there that could come forward that is not always felt. You can feel that in some of the changes happening there. Even if you look at more the political world, it's just, again, and what I see in my mind, I know the terrain is more flat there. There's not a holistic feeling, I guess, so much. There's like this and that and the other thing. It doesn't feel like when you go up to the other areas, to the Northwest in California, you feel kind of a fluid, like they're all together, like those lines you can almost take off and say, okay, this is one river. With Florida, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like it's patchy. It feels like there's patches of this and that and the other thing, and it doesn't connect as a whole feeling so much. It connects more as a, there's some things emerging that feel good. There's some things that are really stifled. There's turmoil. There's dryness. There's flat. There's kind of again, the word is kind of colorless sometimes feeling. Not so much diversity, and yet in other areas a feeling of a kind of, I guess, paradise, a few points where you just feel like, wow, this is tropical, paradise. The mindset has just not come together as a whole feeling. So I believe living there, you don't always feel that, what is this about? There's a younger crowd, there's all this older, what, you just don't feel the wholeness of it, like, is the main way that I see it. A lot of people travel from other areas and they're there and then they're gone. So it just has, it has not really carved out for itself a feeling that comes together in a full way. And I think that's, people can feel that there. And it's just long. It's got, different areas have such a different feeling. So let's put up the pendulum and, again, it's going to go around the water that makes up this land so much. Okay, so you can see some of the cycles that come down here. A lot of people from New York and things. Now, see, this is why sometimes I use a pendulum, because here I may choose certain things, but when you do the pendulum, many times it will do something that is not that you had in, that you would do, I guess is the word. So as we're flowing down, the pendulum really wants to stay up here and get a feeling here. And it comes out, okay, so you can feel this coming out here. And it does not want to touch there. You can see it. Look at how it vibrates there. Wow, okay. Yeah. So this would be around the, yeah, we've got New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. All of this being around here. And then, of course, New York. It's just really vibrating. There's just a lot going on around there. You can look at that vibration, really, and you can feel it. There's a lot of static around there. There's a lot of worry. There's concern. Also there's been a lot of weather changes there that have been very extreme. And of course it's pointing here to these areas as just being yeah, you can look at this and feel the conflict. And this is why it's nice to use the pendulum. I mean, I believe coming up here this would come out, but to visualize it, and for others it definitely gives more of a visual. You can feel, when the pendulum does that, it's more butting heads with, not always. Sometimes it's just pointing to it, but for this it feels like there's a lot of butting heads, and this is all where the capital is and all that, and you just really feel it. Wow, it just wants to, this is kind of magnetized there, Okay, so that's the energy there. Red and blue, again, I see in my mind butt heads, okay, and that is there's still a lot of strength in there, though, with the people and their minds and what they hope there, and wanting changes, and just at least it feels to me that area wants to preserve its, what's the word? It's strength. It doesn't want it diluted, and it's there, and it's really gonna try to hold its ground with that. It's just struggling now. You can feel the conflict there. Okay, so let's move forward, and then it's just going to Texas. I do see the United States flag in Texas. Strange, beef, okay, all sorts of odd things in there. And you just feel some connections there with this, that there's, whatever's happening politically, you can see has some similar mindsets here, with what's in the White House and all of that, as we know. Okay, not a surprise, because there's a lot that these things, not to say majority of these people up here are liberal, but what we have in terms of the mindset trying to take over, really trying to take over there. And okay, so those things are trying to, connect up. They're trying to work together. It's just they're really, again, that shaky vibration. Okay, so let's see what else happens. We were working with Florida. We'll see if it will move down a little bit there. And it does show the migration down, cars that come down. See if there was really anything more that needs to be said about Florida. Not too much. Let's see. Will it, it's just patchy. Okay, you can see the different patches around when it touches different points, like differences, a lot of different energies patched around in it, like a patchwork quilt, really, that has not really fully been sewn together, okay? So you're going to feel that. It does come out. It doesn't, it's got a little flow, and I believe that's probably because of the ocean. There is, in some points, a paradise type of feeling. You know, it's not always felt in terms of the regular flow of things. You know, it's just a funny place. I just can't quite put it into one category, which, you know, no place you can, let's face it, but some just gel better. Okay, that one isn't gelling real well. That's the bottom line. Let's see if it goes anywhere else. It's dropping down. Again, it's showing this area as it just starts getting heavy and wanting to lower. Like there's just a lot that is coming, you know, going downward and heaviness. You know, even of sorrow, sadness, and you know, just wanting, not being able to lift so easily is really the best way to put it. Okay, so we'll go and see where the pendulum wants to take us now. Okay, we come to Arizona. Okay, these all have a really different feel to them. They are nice. They are, in terms of the land, the terrain, you know, with the rock, the red rock, the sunrises and sets, some of the culture that's in there. It's drier feeling, the culture. It is drier, which means some of the life of it has been eked out of it. In that way, and you know, it's still there though in the seeds scattered. Seeds of that culture is there and needing replenishment. Okay, because we've got the Native American, we've got, you know, a lot of the New Age stuff in Arizona. Some spirituality there. Nevada is quite a pretty place too. And Colorado, really. But these want to come together a lot. You can feel some spirituality, I guess some that have gone back and forth there in terms of the culture and spirit. Okay, it's got a nice feeling through here. And it's got a little bit of lifting in terms of the energy there, which is really nice. And they have preserved, you know, it's amazing how something can bump up against something else and yet be so different, like these two, for instance, right? It just, you know, isn't that kind of crazy? Again, talking about a patchwork, right? We've got this whole thing, we call it United States, and yet each area has retained a certain feeling. And you see these borders here, which is kind of odd, you know, to have borders like that, but that's the way things have been carved out. To the pendulum, that doesn't feel like that it should be, you know, like a one, like a, you know, it's just people, it's just land, it's just spirit. And what is this about these things, really? You know, what? Man-made, really, those borders. But anyway, the land is different for sure. The energy, the people, the spirit, this is nice through here. And it does travel. It just travels a little more. It moves a little more. Okay, let's see if we want to go anywhere else. right when you get to this area, see how it shakes and vibrates? It's very interesting. And that's again why I say I really like using the pendulum. It just gives a visual display even. I mean, even though you can't always feel, if you're not doing it, the buffer and zones and different things and where it comes out, you can see this vibration there. There's really quite a static there right now. Let's hope that means things can be flushed out and worked with. There's just a lot of strong minds there. Very much. Okay, so we travel, we go, we see whatever we land. Okay. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Ooh, we've got all these red states. I don't know about Louisiana, I believe is more open. I really am not sure, but a lot of this is red through here. Red meaning, more conservative minds, and okay, it's getting close to it, like to show these have some similarities. Okay. I don't know about Minnesota and things. I believe, really more around here. It's not a negative. It's just showing these, comparisons and jagged edges through there too. These are mines, yeah. And some shaking. So you see that there. Okay, let's get a sense of the spirit through this area. Jagged, jumpy. Not all. Again, not all minds. I don't want to say, I hate to categorize. That's not what I'm doing. It's just, it'll give a general feeling. Here, Louisiana, Mississippi, you've just got a variety, of course. It just, and they all have their own beauty in terms of the land, nature, and people, certainly, of course, absolutely 100%. But there's just a lot of jumping. Airwaves is what I'm feeling, airwaves. I don't know if it has to do with the radio or ways that things are being communicated. Interestingly enough, airwaves is all I'm feeling. It come through like information that is, I'm not feeling so much here, like here, I see an ear and I see waves going into it, like airwaves, like communication that is more one-sided, amazingly, more one-sided. People are just sometimes listening to that, and I know here, Virginia, West Virginia, all of that, many are liberal, but, and I don't, again, that's just what I'm seeing. I see some blue waves, I see some red waves. The red waves are a bit higher, meaning that's more the domineering thing that is here, okay. It's amazing how the politics comes in, and the politics many times have to do with mindsets. And again, not if someone's conservative, they're just this way. We're looking at something that's the overriding, the overarching feeling and energy is what we're talking about. Okay. Kind of like you got a high mountain and then you've got a lot of littler hills below that are differences. But what is the overarching, overpowering feeling, I guess? Okay, so they're kind of seeing some flow in terms of some of the mindsets that flow, again, from the White House or the Capitol, flowing down, some similarities, connections. Okay. again, we've got the turbulence. Okay, and it's showing that there's kind of the steppings of that through this country. You see big feet. Okay, this is where it's stepping with what's going on in politics now. Okay, more with the red being the overpowering feeling. Okay, we get a lot of open country around here. Big sky country around here, right? Some of it. And a lot of open land with people out and working the land, a lot of them. Okay. You know, feeding animals, being with animals. I just see some more country feelings. There's people that have small communities that they kind of know everybody. Okay, so different than this, you know, and again, a blend. So I don't know if any of this helps. I don't know if it's interesting to others. It is a little bit different. But it does give a bit of a, it's kind of like a, you know, a radio wave, I guess, of how things read here. So let's see. Okay, it wants to again show that this is a whole, right? This is a whole. It needs to okay, let's see. Okay, so time to flush this these differences away that cause troubles. You know, differences are not bad, but the differences that people keep themselves away from each other, or, you know, I live here, you live there, this is that, this is this, you know, these things, it just, you know, in with every moment that needs to be begin to be circulated, this new energy, this fresh energy of life, from each corner, from every corner, and bring it in. How to do that again is by by just one mind at a time, by one soul at a time. You know, it always comes down to the same thing. Okay, so waters flush through. There, waters, ocean flush through. And the waters, you know, meaning the flushing of spirit, you know, let the light flush it through. It's hard because there's a lot of stubbornness right now. Okay. Sometimes it's just kind of works to get a sense of the balance of this whole thing, and, you know, it won't leave out anything. You know, some things seem harder than others, more stubborn. You know, that's you know, all that is looked at and held, and brought to the to bring it to the core. How does this whole thing come to center? Okay. Okay, so it's just showing that. It's just showing, the whole thing. I think the point is there, and I don't know if there's much more to say. But I hope this was enjoyed and brought a little bit of a different feeling of things. And okay, so anyways, namaste. Bye.